Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, part 2 of our shop tour of 2019. Well, being a guy that deals almost exclusively in rough cut 8-quarter lumber, a jointer is one heck of a necessity, and this would be the jointer that I have. This thing is a beast, a 240 volt beast, and honestly I am considering a downgrade only because this thing takes up so much darn room, and the shop interior has not expanded as I would have liked it to. That's because I didn't build it out of rubber. The jointer is a great little addition here. It has lived here for quite some time. I have smaller sheet goods stored behind it to utilize the wasted space back there. The only trouble I have with this in this position is the fact that the dust collection is on the opposite side and I have a hard time connecting the hose. But it is mobile, and you can just wheel it out quickly and hook up the hose, and it's not an issue. Well, the dust collector and the router table live right beside the jointer. And with the dust collection here centrally in the shop, this is roughly about just a little shy of halfway across. With 2 hoses here and the separator, I am able to reach every one of my large capacity tools. Table saw, no problem. Jointer, bandsaw, anything that has the 4-inch port can be reached from this central location. I've also added, I used to have a bag filter on here, and I've since added the canister style filter, which I find a lot better as you can clean it with the handle. Small shop problems. Jointer and router table are right in the way to get at this handle, and you can't rotate it. So of course I have to wheel the router table out, and that will bring us then to this router table. Now, unfortunately, I've recently been having some problems with my lift, and my lift is an aftermarket. I'm running a Freud, I think it's a 3 3/4 horsepower router in here, a plunge router, and I've modified it and placed a lift in, and it's served me very well for very many years. It's just not functioning anymore. It's giving me problems, and it's losing its grip and that sort of thing, so I may be replacing this. If you got suggestions, drop them below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'm considering Jessam, but we'll see. Anyway, the router table. This is one of my biggest worries about when I actually do get around to changing the router. I love this router table. I built it ages ago. It has so much storage, and it holds all my router needs. These are all my router bits that I have. They're all organized in a way that I can find exactly what I need. A place for everything, and everything in its place. All the routing templates for lettering down here. My handheld routers are in the 2 bottom drawers, as well as trim routers on this side here. More router related things with bushings and collets. And inside the cabinet, the larger bits that don't fit in places, along with some feather boards and circle cutting jigs. Once again, everything router related is right here, which makes it so much easier to use and gives you more time playing with your tools and less time running around looking for your tools to play with. Well, right here beside the router table is my General International belt and disc combination sander, and honestly this is the most displaced tool in the shop. It really didn't have a home. This is not where I would like it. I would like it over with the sanding and grinding things, but unfortunately I couldn't fit it there. So this was the one space that was available to me, and this is where it ended up. It's a great little sander. I've had absolutely no problems with it. I love the way it works. And then above it, of course, we have my old grinder here with another light sander. And then just above that is all of my hand sanders. And they just live up there on that shelf with the nice little cubbies underneath, which neatly hold their cords, along with a bunch of already pre-cut, or pre-torn in my case, quarter sheet sandpaper of different grits. So again, everything organized into one spot so that all of your sanding things are where they should be. You guys may notice a lot of wall space here is covered. And guys, there are so many things in this shop that the wall, every inch of wall space pretty much is utilized. So don't forget, when it comes to your shop, you can utilize the walls, but as well, don't forget the ceilings. Well, the ceiling of my shop is also utilized for space and storage, and things from spring clamps to my face shield. My miter saw stand, of course, is up there. Now that is one big brutal piece of equipment, and in a small shop, where do you store it? How often do you actually use this thing in any kind of situation? Well, not very often, so putting it up there is just a fantastic option. You can see that I've got shelves right up to ceiling level here with jars of different things such as flocking, nuts and bolts, electrical connections. And it is that little shelf up there is absolutely fantastic for storing things way up top and keeping them out of your way. So don't forget, when organizing your shop, you've also got the ceiling area, guys. Well, right beside our poor misplaced sander is the centerpiece of every single woodworking shop. The workhorse of the entire place, and in my opinion, one of the most important purchases that you will ever make for your shop, and that would be the table saw. This one here is a little undersized for what I would like, but due to space restrictions of the shop, I had to get this one. And honestly, it has served me very well. A lot of controversy about these saws, and I'm sure that if you've ever looked into them, you've heard about the controversy of the braking mechanism and all of that stuff. I don't care about that. I care about how a tool works for me. And this tool does everything I've ever wanted it to do. So there you go, the centerpiece of mine, and hopefully all of your shops, the table saw. Well, next in line would be my lathe, and this is actually a downsize for me once again. Sometimes as equipment comes in, you have to make sacrifices and downgrade or downsize a bit. I think in this particular case, I downsized, but I upgraded. This is a much higher quality than my previous lathe, and as well, I've ended up making the lathe stand for it, and this has a bunch of very wide drawers that are full extension in order to access all of your lathe chisels. And here is the smaller lathe chisels with our chucks and our live centers and that sort of thing, our fixed plates, and down here more chucks, more marking calipers, everything lathe related, all in the one spot. And it has been absolutely phenomenal, and I love this little lathe. It's served me very, very well for the years I've had it. Well, looking up directly above the lathe and above the table extension of the table saw, we have things like table saw blade storage. We have our push pads and push sticks, And then we have a couple extra band saws, and those are just some benchtop band saws that when I have a smaller project I want to work on, I can very easily just lift them down. They don't weigh much and I can work away. I have an old Ryobi there. I also have an old Delta right beside the Ryobi that I prefer. It's a very solid bandsaw and does a great job. As well, you can see the clamp racks on this side, and as much as I would like to have them on the other side of the room with all the other clamps, unfortunately, they had to be put over here due to space constrictions. Now, that's actually not a bad thing, because how often do you use bar clamps? I use them a lot less than I use quick grips and that sort of thing. So for me, to have these off to the side is really not that big of a deal. But you can really see all the space that's utilized here and how much stuff is packed into such a small area. Well, I live in Canada, and in Canada, it gets cold in the winter. And guys, let me tell you, this little wood stove here is absolutely spectacular for pumping out the heat. Now, the problem is you're in a woodworking shop, and with woodworking, sawdust is combustible, guys. So this is where dust collection is an absolute must, and I mean a must. You have to have airborne collection, you have to have your tools hooked up to dust collection, you have to do everything in your power to make sure that there is very little or minimal dust around your shop. After every visit that I'm out here, everything gets a wipe down when I'm done working, everything gets vacuumed off, and it is left in pristine condition. It's not just because I take pride in my tools and pride in my area, but it's also a safety thing, because when you heat with something that's designed to be combustible, you got to be careful, guys. Honestly, be very, very careful. More storage on the ceiling with more spring clamps, which are actually just above the workbench for ease of use. Those would be the ones on the left. But more importantly here, touching on that dust collection, would be my airborne filtration system that's up there. Guys, the standard for clean air in a woodworking shop environment is you have to have a collector that is capable of fully recycling the square footage of your shop 6 times per hour. 6 times. My unit does it 13 times per hour. So by using this air filter, I am doubling that standard, and the reason for that is because of the wood stove. It's to keep the air as clean as possible. It's also good for your health, guys, that when you're sanding and you've got that dust mask on, there's always the residual that's floating around the room. Well, by having an air filtration system running, you're able to filter that stuff out of the air and for the time when you take your dust mask off. Now I have mine set up to a remote, and I can just click it on. And you can hear how quiet that is. It's not a roar. You can hear me talk over that. Or I can just shut it off. But there you go. The ceiling air filtration system. And there you have it. A shop tour. I don't get these shop tours, guys. I really don't. I never have. I've seen a few of them online. I don't really find them that interesting, so I was kind of taken back when I've been requested to do another one. And I kind of find them to be boring. Like, how much can I go around and say, this is this section, this is this section? Because to me, it's my shop. It's my area. As I said earlier, it's my space. So this is where I hang out. This is what I do, and it's really nothing special to me as far as like, wow, check that out, because I'm out here all the time. I'm used to what I have. I don't understand the attraction, but I hope that you've enjoyed the tour. Utilizing space around the shop is something that you really have to think about when you have a smaller shop. And the thing is, the more space you have, the more you're going to fill up. That's where the problem lies. If you give a person 20 drawers, they're going to fill 20. They're not going to organize 10 perfectly. Do you see what I mean? So a smaller shop, although it may look cluttered and that sort of thing, there's a method to the madness of where everything is put. Some things are just put because that's where they fit, as in the sander. But in general, everything has a thought process. So from the oscillating sander to the jointer to the grinder and sharpeners, dust collection, router table, smaller drill press, larger drill press, tool cabinet, workbench, scroll saw, router table, drum and disc sander, lathe and table saw, and let's not forget the wood rack. Everything is there for a reason and a certain thought process. This didn't happen overnight, guys. This has been a 10-year process to get this shop, this particular one, organized to the way that I like. So, I hope you've had a little bit of inspiration for tool stands and how to organize your shop to get the most enjoyment out of it. I hope that you're able at some point in time to get a shop organized in such a way that it brings you as much joy as what mine brings me. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope to those who have requested the tour that you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Click the bell to get the notifications on weekly shows. And I hope you're going to join me next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesday.